Take it away, preacher girl.
Amazing Monday morning. Welcome to Conversation Cafe with your girl, Preacher Girl. Thank you for joining me on today. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I am going to rejoice and be glad in it. Amazing morning. Thank you for joining me. I am super excited, as always, to see each and every one of you join us on KZ Radio Television. I have a very, very, very important guest, a VIP in the house today. It is an honor. I am just excited that we're going to gain a wealth of information in this next hour. You need to get your pen, your pad, you need to get your tea. I got my tea right here because we are about to enter into the wealth zone. Yes, we're about to gain information and knowledge and principles that you can apply that's going to change not only your life, but your children's life. And if you do it right, your children's life, because we're going to talk about wealth building. And we know this is not just about money, but you can make some money and build some wealth. My guest today is none other than the real biz coach, LaRick Calhoun, who's joining us today to talk about real estate and real estate money and wealth building on today. And so we are glad to have Mr. LaRick Calhoun, the real biz coach, here on Conversation Cafe. So I am going to just slide it over and let Mr. LaRick Calhoun introduce himself to our friends of Conversation Cafe. Welcome, Coach. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you there, Chelsea T. Pernell. It's the Millionaire Club lady that's shaking the grounds and beating up everything in the city, making it happen. It never ceases to amaze me what you do when I drive out a billboard, when I'm looking online. I just see all the great work that you're doing and that is rooted in the word. That's even more powerful to know that you're, just creating legacy and wealth just through your moves. So I just really appreciate that, and having the opportunity to be on your show is also an honor. So I appreciate that as well.
I appreciate you accepting the invitation. It
Yeah,
means a lot.
absolutely. Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Yeah.
So I appreciate being on the Conversation Cafe. Look to be able to be a blessing to whoever ears are here with us today or further in the future when they maybe play this show back. My name is LaRick Calhoun, the Real Biz Coach. And the Real Biz stands for real estate and business, but it also stands for keeping everything 100% real. And that's personal power that goes a long story. And one of our special mentors that we share, Lucius Lewis, who's recently transitioned, and but his spirit has not. And he helped us to understand how important it was to be real and to be authentic with ourselves and have our personal power. And that's something that we'll talk about when we get down to the overall message. But I've been in the business now for 20 years, one way or the other. I got in 2000.
Okay.
And I came in as a loan officer and got into the business of just helping people get into mortgages. And I did that for about five and a half years before I actually transitioned full time into a vision that I gotten in 2003, about 2 to 3 years into this industry, where I saw that there was a need for people to be educated and empowered, more so than just getting into a loan or getting into a house. So they had questions. I felt like there were answers out there that people didn't know. I also saw a need for professionals to get more information and more education, because I was one of them, and I had to travel all over the country, to California, to Michigan, to all types of places just to get real estate education. And it wasn't readily available. And I was a young, aspiring real estate professional. I just needed, that information. I wanted to know what to do with it. And then I also saw that there was a need for the consumers to be able to understand just the home buying process and how to leverage it in order to be able to build wealth. So there's a lot of things going on inside my world when I created my company, To Excel. and it was all based on the industry and where it was, where it was in that time. So, today it's 20 years later, and I've taken that real estate career and taken it through the downturns, which is in '08 when everything went down. And I know we'll unpack a lot of this throughout the call, but just in summary, in between when the industry went down, I did 10 years of reinventing myself to take those same real estate-based principles and advise people on how to grow their business. Because once you've been in real estate, I call it the capacity business. It teaches you a lot of principles that you can utilize in any other career or any other focus in business or whatever the case may be, because it's such a high capacity game. When you have a deal on the line that's $3,000-4,000 for one deal, one commission, then you tend to tighten up your customer service skills, and you tighten up how you go to the table, how you look, how you present yourself, because you're dealing with people that are looking to build wealth or transition wealth. So I did that for about 10 years, doing consulting for nonprofits, community development organizations, empowerment organizations, traveled all over the country with different speakers and empowerment type platforms that shared information, much like myself. And then, of course, right around 3 years ago, I re-entered directly back into the real estate industry with a ton of knowledge and a ton of passion, just getting back to the original thought, which was, hey, let's help people understand how to take advantage of this industry of real estate now that it's back. And it's been back for about 7 years fully. Yes. But I had missed it because I didn't really believe it was back. But about 3 years ago, once I really got it, I got back in it, and it's back, and it's healthy, and it's growing. It's making a lot of people a lot of money. And hopefully by the end of this talk today, we could have other people join in the movement of building wealth through real estate.
Wow. Yeah. So let's unpack it. I want you guys that's on here now to like this Conversation Cafe. I want you to share it, and I want you to invite it. And so that we can have people to jump on or even watch it on the replay. But I really want you to get this information. We know that the Bible tells us that money answers all things. It solves all things. And one of the things that I think people have to become comfortable in accepting, that you need money. If you're in business, you need revenue, you need income. If you are in ministry, you need money for ministry. If you have a family, you have children who will need education, you need money. You need wealth, money that you can make while you are sleeping. That's when you tapped into wealth building, when you can make money while you're sleeping. So first of all, let's just talk about wealth building through real estate. So if you have a person who is interested, a lot of people, I think television, when they see the flip this house, and, it's possible. So I want you to kind of tell the viewers this morning, when we look at wealth in real estate, how does real estate, because my thing and my school of thought is owning a house is the first step to building wealth, or owning property. And really, if you own the land, if we understand Ray Crocker's story, the land is really where the money is. But just talk to us about the importance, of owning property in order to increase your income.
Right. So we got a couple sides to that story, but basically real estate is my one mentor used to say, real estate is real. So it's the one thing that when you do acquire it, is real, is right there. It's not going anywhere, anytime fast, unless you lose sight of it. I did that one back a long time ago when I was first getting into business. I lost sight of a property I was given, and for that 4-suiter I was given, it was on the street down on Stoughton, and I lost sight of that asset, not yet knowing. I was only like 29 years old, and I had gotten it, believe it or not, free, and I had not paid attention to the actual taxes, and I ended up I go by there one day about a year or so later when I was planning on rehabbing it, and it was gone. So I think I had the land, but I think they took that too. But in that one moment, I remember, so it's one of those, I remember thinking like, you know what, real estate can be real, but at the same time, you got to make sure you pay attention to it, especially when you get a piece of land. But had I nurtured that land and nurtured that opportunity, then that property would still be here to this day, paying me years and years later. So I'm, of course, older than 29 now, but not much. But when you look at 20 years later, you say, hey, this is something that's paid me 20 years at the tune of $500 a unit, $2,000, can add that up. You talk about a lot of wealth, and it just keeps on paying because people always are going to need a place to live. So that's the one thing guaranteed, and prayerfully everyone has a place to live. But when you've done that job of being able to create a nice real estate asset and making it available to other people to be able to live, then you've created wealth, and it can continue to pay you and repay you for the rest of your life if you play it the right way. So that's one side. Now, there's another side, which is, some people feel like real estate, owning a property is not for them. They just say, hey, look, I understand the principles, I want the wealth, but I'm just not into managing a property. It's not the way that I want to build my wealth. So I also like to always encourage people in that case. It's like, hey, you may not own a piece of property, but maybe you get into some business that services that property owner. And that's another way to create wealth. The second best thing to owning a property is owning a service that is going to service that property for the entire time. So if you have a management company or something like that, right, then you can manage someone else's real estate wealth. And as long as they have it, and as long as you are really good at what you're doing, then you'll have that wealth for as long as that person has wealth in that property. Now, you won't be able to, well, in some cases, you could actually cash in. I do have a property management story. I won't share the name because I don't have the permission, but there was a gentleman that started off as a property management company, and he had rental properties of his own to about, I think he had about 50 of them, but he ended up managing another company's purchase, rehab, and hold strategy. So they bought the homes, they rehabbed them, and they held them, and he helped them to facilitate that as a property management service. And they got to about 20, almost 18 to 20 homes. And at the end of that drive, that under that service time, they packed up and said, you know what, that's it for us. We're going to cash out in the business. And they sold him the entire business. So he instantly owned 18 parcels in the Cleveland Heights area and was able to now have wealth in his family expanded because of that. So it started off as a service and it ended up into real estate wealth for him.
I know. I thought you said started out as a servant. I kind of heard that.
That's probably why they're so close, right? Yeah,
you're faithful over a few things. I make you ruler over many. That just kind of went through my spirit. Okay, keep with the story. Okay.
There you go. All right, there you go. Merge it on in, because that's exactly.
It just kind of went through the ear gate. Okay.
Exactly. Yep, that's exactly. And so that's another way to ease your way into something that can sometimes be a little bit scary and overwhelming for some people to try to get into when they just don't feel like they know.
Okay, so with that, one of the things that I wrote down when I heard you talking is there is a responsibility that comes with real estate.
Yes.
So whether that's doing your due diligence with the property itself, whether it's the taxes itself, or whether it's the services that you provide, there is a responsibility. Exactly. And I think that, like you said, people will always need somewhere to stay.
Yeah.
So real estate is real. It's real money, but there's a responsibility that comes with that money, whether it's managing and being a good steward over, I like what you say, paying attention to, there's an awareness that comes with real estate. You drive by and you see properties, the grass is yay high, and there's a responsibility that goes with that real estate.
Yep, take care of it, they'll take care of you. And then it applies.
Okay. So so tell us, when we look at real estate, I know you have a program that you were doing called Teach a Man to Fish.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
The Nehemiah Project. So in that project, teaching a man to fish, tell us about, what does teach a man to fish mean? What does that?
All right, so you know how the proverb goes. A lot of people hear it, some remember it, and some have not. Believe it or not, some people say, "I've never heard of it." But say you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. You teach a man a fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. And for the ladies, that man is not literal; it means mankind. And so the goal is to be able to help people to understand how to be able to create income for themselves. With standard general employment, you're generally fed. You're fed your fish, you're fed your opportunity, and you eat from whatever someone decides to give you. But when you learn how to go out and find your own opportunity, then you can eat for a lifetime, because at any given time, you can create something. So that's the premise of it. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 11 years old. I've only had 3 years of working for some formal W-2 position in my entire life. So that amount of time, I've always had to utilize my fishing rod, go out there, find opportunity, and make it pay, and make it have it take care of myself and my family. So that's the premise of the whole teach a man to fish movement. And under that, in the real estate industry, because I had it in the entrepreneurship industry, and now we're moving it back through the real estate industry, we have a training program that we've developed that allows people to learn how to run a real estate business or build a real estate business, be it service or even investing, through what we call the Nehemiah Project 2:1-5. And in that scripture, it talks about how the community was in blight, and the young man that came back through that community was distraught because it was at blight. And the king asked him, "What's going on? What's wrong with you?" And he said, "Well, this area just doesn't look the way it used to look." And it reminded the king of, yes, it did used to look different. What can I do to help you in what you're feeling? He said, "Well, I want to be able to rebuild this community. I want to be able to rebuild the areas like we know in Cleveland that used to look a certain type of way, and that we're not as excited about." And he said, "Well, I can give you resources to be able to do that, and those resources will come from the community." So the premise of Nehemiah Project is that we will rebuild this community with the people of the community. So that means the contractors will help train the average ordinary people on the skills that they may need in order to rebuild the community. So in the program itself, we have contractors teach drywall, painting, flooring, lock changes, window repair, screen repair, different tools and different skill sets that you can utilize in order to be able to, number one, go out and start a career or get a career working at someone's business as a maintenance person.
Yes.
Number two, you can become an entrepreneur and start your own business. And number three, you can actually become what is called a subcontractor, where you actually work for another contractor, but you're not their employee. They just sub out work to you. So those are 3 things and 3 outcomes that we look for coming out of the Nehemiah Project. However, under the conversation of what we're having today, there's another benefit, and it's learning about the asset in which you're going to be acquiring when you're into real estate yourself. So if you're going to be in the game of real estate, you should know how to possibly, if you don't even do the work yourself, you should know how the drywall is applied. You should know how floors are repaired. You should know what's under there. You should know the basics of the business that you're in, because some people are flying by the seat of their pants because they got into real estate, but they don't know the difference between a paintbrush and a hammer. So you should know a little bit. And so we do have ladies in the program that's actually learning just so they can be able to better do their real estate investing or manage some of the properties that they own.
So how important is it for, I believe we've taught that by our mentor, our coach, Mr. Lucius, the power of networking, the power of coming together and bringing resources to change a community. I think that right now, if we understand, we look at projects that's going on in different parts of the city, A lot of people in different communities, they come together and they use their contractors, they use their stagers, they use their builders, and they have their nice sign out, and it's usually the same name on all of the projects. And so I think within our community, one of the things that would empower the community of the brown and Black community would be to network and partnership and pull our resources together. And in that partnership, you know, still providing the highest quality of services, professional services that we say that we bring to the table so that we can build and rebuild in our communities. A lot is going on even in the city of Cleveland in terms of rebuilding and upgrading, you know, some of the eyesores that's throughout the city, but it's still real estate. It's still real money. It's still land. It's still a lot. So people can't become intimidated if the windows are out and the floor is bad, but if the foundation, the bones of the property is good, you know, what do you think about people joining their resources? So we'll have the power to buy blocks and buy, you know, things that's in our community.
Yeah.
Not that we're going outside, but can we do that? Is that possible?
It's very possible. We've actually begun doing that. It's a small group of us that we've come together and we've began to meet on a reoccurring basis just to start just under the what we're doing with the program, Teach Man to Fish and Nehemiah. Well, as you see on the E is for e-network. So that networking is very, just going to your original question, that is very important. It's very important that we network. In networking, your network will create your net worth. So if you don't have a network, you're not going to be able to really build any real wealth without having one. And then when you look at our community, by design, we're pretty much taught to stay away in our own corners and stay away from each other. And it goes way back. It goes way back where if you try to network to get the job done, you got a whip on your back way before you and I were even born. So it's been beat into us that if we try to come together and work on a common goal, that we will be whooped, that we will be killed, and that our families will suffer. So when you have that downloaded into your spirit and your DNA, it's not going to be natural and normal for you to come together and fix anything for years and years to come, because it was years and years that it was put into us, or decades and decades, and it will take decades and decades for it to come out of us. But the fact still remains is that it's very vital and very important that we never give up coming together to be able to create a unified movement that can help revitalize the community. The East Side looks very different from the West Side for a very good reason. It's not because the resources aren't there. The resources are there, but that side comes together and they hold the city accountable, and they leverage their assets and their human capital to come together and actually build their community. They don't settle. And because they don't settle, blighted areas on the West Side are now $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 areas.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, the same number street.
Yeah,
the same number street on that side of town is the same number street on this side of town. Could be the difference of a $300,000 to $400,000 value, but the same square footage house, the same house that 15 years ago people would have been hanging out, doing drugs, a ton of things, but now that area is 10 to 20 times more valuable for the exact same size property. They didn't build 200-story homes. It's the same size house, in some cases smaller, but 10 to 20 times more valuable because the people continue to hold accountable the standards that they have in their community. And that's what we need to do. And the only way you do that is by people coming together that have also the same mindset and saying, now we're not going to settle either. And if we have to bring our own resources together to make that happen, then we will. And I want to say this, I want you to expand on what you was getting ready to say, the aha moment. In our new movement, we did this Nehemiah 4 years ago, and we allowed, and went after, as a traditional nonprofit partnership with the community organization we was partnered with, we went after grants and funding, and they gave us money, right? But we didn't have our fishing rod out there. We were being fed fish, and they soon after cut those resources off. And the program sat, even though it fully renovated 2 properties deep in the hood, sold them before they even got finished. And the 15 students graduated, 2 homeowners bought those homes that are still in them today. And everything worked inside of that. We didn't galvanize around that moment. The program got shut down. Now the mindset is we won't ask and we won't even take anyone else's money. This program has been fully funded by our own resources in our own community. The church that we're working out of was donated. The model home was donated by us. The seed capital is by our own community investors. The contractors, the real estate agents, everyone in there is from the community. And we have a principle that we won't go beyond, is that when we decide to take money from someone outside our community, it will be at our own rules and
discretion.
rights.
Yes.
Discretion. And when they get their logo placed on our back or on our hard work, it'll be because we read their corporate mission and that is in alignment with what we're doing. Other than that, they get no ride here. So that day is over.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And I think that taking that position and understanding that once we bring those resources together, you're actually doing it. I saw the model home. I'm one of those real estate agents that's a part of this movement. Yes, exactly. And so I believe that if individuals, they say, well, hey, LaRick, hey, Coach Real Biz, I have about $10,000 discretionary income. That what can I do with $10,000? It's just kind of sitting there. I needed to not just sit in the bank or sit under the mattress. I have $10,000. What can I do with that $10,000 at this time that would allow me to, become my seed money? How do I increase that $10,000?
All right, so that was the number one question in our community, is because of, again, how we a lot of us were raised. A lot of us don't automatically put aside savings, or in some cases have the best setup for credit and finances to be able to just go out and stroke a check of $50,000 to $100,000 to get into real estate investing. So we're like, man, I don't have any good credit. I don't have a lot of money. And LaRick, how do I get into business of real estate? How do I get into investing? So what we did is we created kind of a club, an investment group that we call Invest. And the E stands for entrepreneurship. And so Invest is ENVEST. Invest is entrepreneurship through real estate. And in those groups, and we've just begun to form them over the last year, we did one really successful one in the Lee Harvard area, where those groups come together and each person brings their capital to the table. Not for us to invest for them, which is very important because we're not an investment broker, but they can then choose projects to joint venture on with other people in the invest group. And we help facilitate that opportunity with them. And it's all in efforts to be able to allow people to start getting in and get a piece of the pie. So if they have $2,500, $5,000, $10,000, then it's different groups that they can be a part of. And as a project comes up, that project is presented and they're able to say, hey, I will be a part of that project with my invest dollars. Now there's a couple things that have to be done inside there. And you have to have your own LLC set up and things of that nature. And there's other things that we do to help when the people become members of our organization. A lot of that is built in, where we help them set up their LLC, help them set up an account with Legal Shield. It's a little inexpensive way to be able to have a lawyer on your side without having to spend $200-300 with an hour retainer. Nothing against, we love lawyers and attorneys and love to be able to utilize them. But again, it's about helping people get in and pass the blocks that they feel in their mind that they can't afford. So we made a very affordable way for them to get in to the real estate, and that's through the Invest group. So they come together, we find the property. So I'll go out and personally select the property that fits the criteria. It does take a little bit longer sometimes to find properties that fit the criteria of the Invest group, because they're a little, there's sometimes a diamond in the rough. They have to be able to be purchased, renovated, and a purchase and renovation right now could be in the upwards of $30,000 to $40,000. So that's a lot of $2,500 if you only have $2,500 groups. So so we try to make sure we find a property that can fit the group, and then it also make the money. We bring the contractors to the table through the Nehemiah training program to facilitate the work. We allow for the Invest group members to participate if they're wanting to shadow and come in and swing a hammer here and there. They can. We encourage that they actually come and take a couple selfies and be involved in the project and let people know that they are real estate investing. If you stop right there, you don't have to talk about if you just it's $2,500. That's not anybody's business. You're investing in
an
real
investor.
estate, period.
Right.
And so if you begin to claim it, then the rest will come, because it's power in just speaking the name of I'm in real estate investing, that people see your boldness and they tend to come behind you with the rest of the money to your vision. So your $2,500 in a selfie could easily bring a couple of your family members together, and they say, you got 25,000 because you're the lone wolf that was willing to step out and make it happen. And I've seen that happen in real time. So just want to expand on that.
Throw that out. And I think that's really good, that we have to shift our thinking.
Yes.
And a lot of shifting our thinking is understanding that having making money. And I like to tell people this, because sometimes people, they have what we all have, but they don't want to accept. We all have past, failures, but those failures make us as successful as we are today, because you've learned from your life experiences. So you can't allow a past failure to paralyze you and keep you from moving into a new beginning, into a new future, because you've made mistakes. Everybody has made mistakes. That is a human being. There's no person who is mistakeless. And so I think sometimes people have to shift their thinking, like to say, I want more for myself. I want more for my children. I want options. I want to be able to choose. I don't want life to choose for me. I want to be able to have options and choices. And so I think with real estate, one of the things that we have to understand is that we have to be teachable. We have to talk to individuals who are, successful, who've had, past failures, and now they're moving forward. They've learned, they know how to be responsible, take care of the property. They know how to pay the taxes. They know they need a business, just all of these things to be able to become that investor. But one of the things that I want to ask you, when you have a lot of people say, well, I just want to flip. I just want to flip a house. I just want to. So what do you say to that flipper that's watching this morning? They just want to buy and flip. They don't really want the responsibility of being a landlord. They don't want to hire a property manager. They just want to rehab a property, put it on the market, make their money, and on to the next. Is that possible?
It is possible to be able to do a buy, fix, and flip property. Is not as difficult as what it may seem on TV. When I first did my first flip, I was, and again, 29 years old. That's when a lot of things started for me then. I had no clue how to do it. And I remember meeting a gentleman that said he would coach me through the project. And that's how I designed a lot of my project programs now. And he said he would just do a 50-50 split with me to shadow him, and or him to, for him to coach me through the pro. I didn't even shadow him, actually. He just told me what to do and I went and did it. And so I was able to use what they call private money lending. Hard money lending is lending institutions that allow you to borrow the money up against the asset, which is the property, based on the purchase and rehab costs coming in at a certain amount. that they will give you the money to buy it and the money to rehab it. And you just have to bring some money to the table versus all of it. And they will kind of walk you through the process to be able to get the contractors that you need and things of that nature, because they're going to hold you accountable to that. So you're kind of forced to do it the right way based on their guidelines. And that's how I did my first fix and flip. So it's a lot. It is work, and you can, hurt yourself in the process. Like you said, failure leaves clues just like success leaves clues. So there's going to be some opportunities for you to be able to learn, not to be discouraged by it, especially if you've already done it, but you are now, you're like myself, I had a business that went, really high in income in business. And then when the industry crashed in '08, I lost it all. I lost everything. So I was one of those people that failed at it due to the industry crashing, along with a lot of big banks, a lot of small companies. But then I was able to take from what I learned in that failure to be able to rebuild and make it stronger as I've been moving back through it myself and taking other people back through it. So I welcome those failures, especially early on, fail fast, because once you understand it, then those opportunities will help you reshape, going into the business. And I want to say one other thing is a lot of people get out here and they just want to do it by themselves and utilizing the TV and don't want to spend any money to learn it, or they want to spend a little money on road shows instead of getting with someone like yourself or myself to allow them to walk through the first 2 to 3 projects. It's like, it's worth it. Pay the money and learn from the experience. My one friend says, experience is the best teacher. He said, no, other people's experience is the best teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll preach right there.
Oh yeah, that'll preach for sure. It's like, you don't want to have to be getting that teaching, because if you go through what I went through, you may not get back up. It took a lot in me to get back into this game. And I try to make myself available so people don't have to go through that way.
Yeah, you want to cut the learning curve short, but I like that other people's experience, not necessarily your experience, because you can save people time. You can save them years for, it took me 10 years or 20 years for this experience. And so I think a lot of times people have to, again, shift their mindset, pay for information, pay for knowledge, be willing to be coach and mentor. That's very important. Not, when I got in the game, I paid my coach, Lucius. I paid you, to coach and do. So people have to be willing to invest in themselves in order to, reap the benefits, because they're willing to pay for education, not because we have a relationship, but because you're willing to pay for the experience that I have got knocks, that you don't have to get those knocks, bumps, and bruises. And so I think that's another thing that will help people excel, is when they invest in themselves and willing to pay people to give them information.
Exactly. And it goes into, you reap what you sow. So if you haven't sown anything, you won't reap anything. So when you start investing into your education and you start sowing into the vision in which you have by lining up with coaching, education, training, experiences, when you do that, then you now have seeded your vision. So you seeded it. So now you can begin to nurture that over time, which is just time is going to give you the rest. But if you plant those seeds in the beginning, which is, I'm going to invest into my education, my experiences, I'm going to understand this, and you put that time in, it'll come back. And you will have to do that. It's going to get you, Lucius used to always say, LaRick, you're going to have to put in 20,000 hours. And I said, 20,000 hours? Like, man, I'm not putting in 20. I'm about to make this money right now. I know I passed that 20,000 hours. So
haven't we both?
Exactly. So it has its way. It's like, now the industry is doing some things and is getting ready to do some things that, as I'm looking at it, I say, you know what? 20 years ago, this is exactly the same market that I walked into. So there's some things that are getting ready to happen that are not of the last 7 years, but people that just came in over the last 7 years will not have seen what 20 years ago looked like. So they won't know how to maximize it. So those are some of the things I've been teaching some of the people in our network, in our real estate clients. Here's what you can get prepared to do with this market, because this market is getting ready to change.
It's about to change the whole game. And it's like you got to get it while the gate is down.
And
so I'm
right,
saying straight up, get it while the gate is open, while it's down. It's an opportunity for you to get in, to network, so you can increase your net worth with people, because like you said, if you take your 2,500, I take my 2,500, or 5,000 or 10,000, you're not working just with that initial amount. But when you bring 5 people that can bring $5,000, now the net worth has increased because we brought our resources and we have leveraging buying power to say, hey, let's look at this project. Now we're coming to the table not with $5,000, but we're coming to the table with $50,000.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect. And I'll something I wanted to go back to when you was talking about us coming together as a network. One of the things that we did on a project as I was getting back into the real estate business, and I was coming through my consulting business. So I was making money, but I didn't have the type of money that I had back in the day to start back into real estate investing. So I was faced just a short 3 years ago with the same challenge that people would have. I'm making money, it's consistent, but I don't have enough savings to do an entire flip on my own, and I have not built my entrepreneurship credit back up yet. So at the end of the day, I did the exact same 2 things. Number one, I found a partner, a gentleman that's a friend of mine that was rehabbing houses. And I said, can I partner with you on the property? But I don't have the money to invest in it, but I will invest my time. I'll run to Home Depot. I will shadow inside the property. Now you're talking about years experience that I already have. I still humble myself to be able to come on board. And I walked the side of that property. I showed up, met the contractors there, and everything as if I was a newborn baby in the business.
But listen, wait a minute, go back, slow down a little bit, because somebody on the live need to get that. Now, this is a person of experience, a person who's been in the game, a person who has resources, but now has found himself in this looks familiar. This space looks familiar, but willing. Remember, I heard service, but I heard servant. Being able to say, seize an opportunity. This is an opportunity for me to partner, not allowing the fact that if you don't have the resources, if you don't have the credit worthiness, if you're not in position to bring financial gain, but what you are and what you were in position was to bring your skill set. And you just said, I'll go to Home Depot, and that is a value. That's a value. You can put a number to that. So that's gonna free at least about 10 or 20 of y'all. The fact that if you don't have the resources, but you have the service, and that service is a value. So you said you met the contractor. So that means that the person who had the money could be doing something else because he knows that he has a steward that's on deck who's willing to go to Home Depot. I've been doing real estate for 20 years. You can reverse the roles because the bigger picture is, this is what I can bring to the table right now. Now go ahead with the story, because that right there just blessed my entire spirit that you went to Home Depot. Because some people won't go to Home Depot. Some people won't show up, because they feel like I've been there and I've done this, but you're not doing it now. So go ahead to Home Depot.
Yeah, definitely. And no, you're so right. And that level of humility is needed, especially in our community, because that pride comes before fall. And they say, so that when doing that, it helped me to be able to see the new industry, how properties were handled today. It reminded me of some things that were a part of the past and some things that are now new in this future. And I said, okay, these things are the same, and these things have changed. Contractors have changed. You used to be able to have at least a decent amount of them that you could rely on and have access to back then. it's a little bit harder to get a good contractor today than it was back then. So pricing has changed. The product has changed. So if you're not putting in granite countertops,
you're not in the game. That's just the basic. That's the standard. You know, it used to be like that was a plus. If you don't have that on the checklist, people are leaving. That's basic.
I was getting ready to put down some 12 by 12 peel and stick flooring. They're like, dude, this ceramic everything now. So, you know, that old school way, right? So I'm sitting there learning all these different touches. Final cleaning, when you have your home cleaned by a professional cleaner. You know, no one budgets for $400 for someone just to clean at the end. We just leave out those houses.
And leave the dust everywhere. Exactly. So I'll give Mrs. Judy's professional cleaning service a plug. When I did the model homes, her cleaning service came in to have it ready for the buyer of the property. It was a clean, sanitized, COVID-19, Lysol, Clorox. You presented it as such. It's like, that's the standard.
Yep, that's it. And so that in that moment, I was able to learn from that. Now, here's the second part. I thought I was going to be able to make money on that particular project because we started it with, you know, hey, look, I'll joint venture with you. I'll do all the legwork. You do the money, and excuse me, we'll have a percentage shared at the end of the deal. So in the learning of it, we had a couple things that come up. We had to do a new garage build that we didn't realize in the beginning.
Right.
I decided I wanted to put a new roof on because I thought it would look really nice. And he said, well, that one is good. I said, yeah, but let's do a new roof. So he kind of worked with me on that. We did a new roof, but then we had a waterproofing that we ended up doing in the house. So make a long story short, ended up being pretty much maxed out in renovation costs. This really squoze the actual purchase price. And there was no profit for me in that particular deal. But there was profit for me in that particular deal because every selfie I took, every time I showed up over there, every moment I sowed a seed into where I wanted to go was opening up doors and opportunities and eyes for people to look and say, he's out there doing the work. And people are fascinated when you're out there willing to do the work because most people are sitting back looking and just wondering if it's even real. And you may be that person that person actually trusts to say, if they're doing it, then I can do it. And so it actually opened up doors. And so the next project, he said, here's another one, but I feel bad that you didn't make money on this one. Here, you can take this one, but you got to bring your own capital. And I'm like, well, shoot, where's that going to come from? I didn't have it on the other house. So what I was able to do, though, is I said, okay, and I'll do it. And little by little, that's how the invest group was built because I mentioned it to one person, then another person, then all those people that saw me online, they just started coming. Next thing you know, it's $2,500 person coming to partner with me, a $5,000 person, a $10,000 person. And then I had contractors coming in there. Some of them failed me miserably, but I had to get up and start. I'm talking about, you talking about, I think I can.
Use the red train.
Ooh, listen. I was in that house at some points. I'm fussing at contractors because it's real down in that grind. And then, you know, I'm in there swinging the paintbrush myself. I mean, I'm like, because I just would not give up on me getting this business back going. But I've been in this game before. A person that's played in the championship game before knows how to play in the championship game.
You better say that.
Oh, yeah. So I got the team. Look, I got the whole team on my back. And I'm like, I tell you what, it may look rough right now, but we gonna win. It took us almost a year to get that property done. But we kept going. And when it came together, here's what ended up happening. In all of the people's spirit, I think they saw me fighting so hard because they would look up. One night I stayed in there 24 hours straight, just painting. And all the work I did didn't end up being work that could be final work. So I ended up still having to pay somebody to do it. But the grind was so real for me that what ended up happening, it galvanized us as a group. Yes. And then the spirit led us and brought a home buyer to that home. Wow. That was a young man that was 20 years old, buying his first property that he'd been dreaming about. He had been dreaming about since he was 16. He broke down in tears getting to this property. And young African-American man in the Lee Harvard area owns at 20 years old, owns his first property because this group came together and would not stop. And we were all, Lucius used to always say, what you're seeking is seeking you.
It's seeking you.
Yeah,
when the student is ready, the teacher shows up.
Appear. I mean, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. So, the reason I want to say that, going back to your network, the power in the network, and I really want to add two things to that. There's a teaching moment that really helps with this real estate, is that here's what happened. We started off way back here with no resources, little vision or big vision, no resources, a lot of faith. And we started on this path. And then here comes this young man who has little resources and a lot of faith and a little vision, and he's on his journey. And little did we know, almost a year later, we will meet on Glendale. His dream and our dreams were set on the same course to connect at a future date. That's why Les Brown said the how was none of your business. So going back to when you say how powerful is it and how necessary for us to come together in our community, Lucius used to always talk about the power of the birds, the birds flying in formation.
And a V formation. The geese would just come together.
The geese coming together. So for those that don't know, when the geese come together and they get that V formation, you hear them up there honking. When that V formation cuts the wind and make them aerodynamic enough to be able to move, they going about 70% faster, farther. Together. So if they were on their own, it would take them 7 times longer
to get to their destination.
That means going to Atlanta. If we all want to get up and go to Atlanta, then it usually take us 10 hours to get there on our own. But if you get with 7 more people and you get in formation, you get there in 3 hours, is basically what that's saying.
Yes.
And the honking that they're doing is they're honking and for the lead goose to keep moving and cheering that goose on. And that's the power when we come together in our community. That's how we're lifting up and working together. And when you say 1 + 1, everybody be like, that equals 2. I said, no, it equals 11. Look closer. So when 2 people come together, they create multiple people. And then Lucius used to always talk about the Clydesdale horses. And I'm going to close on this particular one.
Yes.
But it's so powerful to your network. And I need more African Americans to understand this. The Clydesdale horse, but everybody know it as the Budweiser horse. That's those really tall horses with those big, broad chest. And they go out there, they can pull 7,500 pounds by themselves, which is about what a good Ford F-150 could do on a good day, right?
Yes.
So one of them can pull 7,500 pounds. When they partner with another Clydesdale horse, you would think that 7,500 and 7,500 would equal 15,000 a pull, but it doesn't. Just like the 1 + 1 equals 11, 2 Clydesdale horses agreeing to pull equals 22,500 pounds of torque. So they're able to pull 1 more horse just by coming together. So when our community is to get to the point where they come together, be it 2 or 10, we will have the power of 10 or 100 just by coming together. So our $2 just equal $20 just by coming together. Our $200 just equal $2,000 by coming together. Yes. So, so it's all in the 1 Minute Millionaire book. It talks about that. So I just want to say that to really make sure that your audience knows, because a lot of them got on here today with their pens and paper out to be able to understand real estate wealth building from, all right, he's going to show me how to just buy this house and then I'm going to put this money in and then I'm going to flip it. No, I'm going to show you how to take this mindset and then overpower the brokenness and the clogginess that's been instilled in you so that you can be able to create whatever in real estate wealth that you're to create. Some of you that's listening right now are real estate agents because you love to sell, you love to cater and serve people and take them out and educate them on complex processes. And buying a home is a complex process. So if you have an opportunity or you have a gift of nurturing and educating and you have a little bit of swag for not even a lot of sales, if you could just educate someone on the process of something, then you can make money in real estate as a real estate agent. Some people on this line right now are really good with managing things. You get to their house, everything is organized, T's are crossed, I's are dotted. They know where everything is. Their books are in order, their money is in order, finances in order. Well, you may be able to get your license to become a property manager.
Yes.
So that's a property manager or project manager career in the real estate industry. Some people love to swing the hammer. Then that's a contractor in the real estate industry. Some people love to motivate and empower. Some people love to, create platforms like yourself to make sure people get access to information in real estate. So everyone can get in the business from where you are. They say all dogs barking up the tree doesn't make it the right tree. So you don't have to just get in the fix and flip because that's all the media is telling you. You could get into a lot of other areas and still build wealth. And from that wealth, buy you some real estate to hold on to.
Right. And I think that you're still doing what you love to do. This is nothing new. It's just being able to monetize. Is that what we had taught? The gifts that you have and people pay you for your gifts. You are paid for, if you are a teacher, then how can I take this teaching skill and place it into real estate? How can I educate people about the process of buying a home? How can I educate people on customer service, on client services? How can I use these gifts, these skills, and these talents that will create a revenue that will allow me to purchase properties? Where my people at? Where my tribe? Where's my network? Who can I partner with? How can we get to this next destination together? And you have to have and everybody, you have to find what fits and who has the same mindset. And I think if you take notes from today, as you were saying, you first have to shift your mental perspective. Where do you see yourself? What's next for you and your family? And I'm going to let you, what do you want to say before we get ready to wrap up? Because this is so good to me.
Yeah. Now, I just want to say that, again, thank you for having the vision to be able to create wealth through real estate by actually creating a platform, utilizing your gift of being able to create a platform, utilize your gift in the spirit to partner with Pastor James with the KZ Radio and his spirit and gift. All our gifts right now are working together for the good. And as that song, All Things Are Working, your song that you always give me, because he's intentional, all things are for our good. So this is where everything is coming together. I really just wanted to make sure I thank you and also Pastor James, because that's inspiring to me. And this has been inspiring just to be able to wake back up the fullness, because I hadn't been out online prior to the wedding and things of that nature. I had not been online doing anything. Well, and I just been in the preparing season. But the time is now. I want to tell people, whatever gift you have, to your point, take it and get it into the real estate industry, especially if you're in the Cleveland area. People are traveling from all over the world to buy up homes in the Cleveland area, and we're sitting there waiting to rent them. So we have to change our mindset before all the assets are gone, because when they're gone, you won't be able to get them back. And it's only but so much real estate in this city. So once it's gone, you will not be able to buy that property back. So I want to say that. And anything else that you would
Look, I appreciate you. I appreciate your project. I salute you for being a game changer, intentional game changer, really educating people, helping and partnering, because I think the time that you put in 20,000 hours ago, you are beginning to see the fruit of your labor. And I think just being able to hear and sit at your feet, just to understand that if money solves all things, but if your mindset doesn't change about money, then money becomes materialism. So if you want to you have to create money and wealth building to be able to change lives, change community, and present options. So I am very grateful and thankful that you have allowed us to just sit in your presence to understand the power of wealth and wealth building through real estate. So thank you so very much for joining me here at Conversation Cafe. The Real Biz Coach is available for coaching services. He's available for investments. If you have some money, he's available for money now. That's not for free. He might do one-time consultant, but it does cost to sit at his feet. So we want you to reach out to the Real Biz Coach. He keeps it 100 and he will cut your learning curve short. So thank you, Real Biz Coach. Thank you. Best wishes with your beautiful wife and marriage. We thank God for you. And I appreciate your time and your knowledge on today and your wisdom. So everybody, thank you for joining me here on Conversation Cafe. I appreciate you joining me on Mondays at 7:00 a.m. I pray that something was said on today. Guess what? If you don't know Jesus Christ and the pardon of your sin, I bid you to just lift up your